Hi there, my name's Vince from mymatevince.com, and in this video today we're going to try and fix this PlayStation 3 Slim. Okay, so this isn't the fat model and it's not the super slim model, it's the model that came in between them. So if you're curious, that is the model number there, CECH 3003B. So with this one I've got power going into it. This leads definitely okay because I've tried it on another PlayStation 3 Slim and it works, but look, there's absolutely nothing there at all. It doesn't even come up with a red light. Completely dead. So I got this in a job lot with other consoles, Xbox 360s and various different things, all advertised as faulty. So I don't know how messed around they've been. Possibly this might have been used for spares already. If you have a look, the void sticker's already gone, so somebody's been in it. But we'll take it apart. For all I know, it might even be missing the power supply, I don't know. But I have also got another faulty one, so possibly mix and match a few parts to get it working. So let's take this thing apart and see if we can find out what's wrong with it. Now, I've never taken apart one of these before, so this is all going to be quite new to me. Also looks like damaged here, you know what I mean? It looks kind of, either it hasn't been put together, maybe it wasn't put together properly, I'm not too sure. Right, let's get straight. Right, first things first, there is no hard drive in it. Right, okay, but as far as I know it should still turn on, shouldn't it? But that is a bit irritating. Also, I can hear things wobbling about inside. Right, okay, so this is the thing that was wobbling around. There's a broken post somewhere. Not really sure where that's from. Oh, it's just from here. That's no biggie, I can always glue that back on. Right, so that's the power supply, so that does actually look like it'd be quite easy to change over. It's dusty, but it is intact. Oh, right, okay, look, everything's undone from here. Can you see all these cables are undone? Everything's undone. Right, now, why is that? I wonder, I suppose we have to plug them back in just to see what the fault is. So maybe this has got where it turns off straight away when you turn it on. So maybe one of those ribbon cables go to the front here to turn these on. Right, let's pop this power supply back in and now let's actually see what the fault is. Right, I'm unplugged at the moment, so I'm going to keep my hands well clear when I plug this in. Right, let's see what it does now. I'm plugging it in. Right, there's still no light here. Right, okay, so it's not those ribbon cables. Let's unplug it again. Make sure it's safe to work on. The disk drive was unplugged as well. Looks like everything was unplugged. But I'm thinking even without the disk drive it would throw up an error, but it should still try to turn on. I wonder if there's anything in here. Nope. Straight away I'm thinking, if there's no power whatsoever, yes it could be a problem with this rail here, with this front part here, but look, that is plugged into that. I'm wondering if it is just plain and simple a power supply problem. So what I'm going to do is, I am going to, before I take it apart anymore, I think I'm going to get the other faulty one because that turns on but just flashes red. So let's take that one apart, swap the power supplies over, and then we know that we can fault find just this. Right, so this is the other one here that I was going to do on another video and still will do on another video. Let me just show you what's happening with this one. So plug it in here. Plug it in. You can see with this one I do have a red light, but watch this. Actually, I think it just turns itself off. Can you see it goes to green? And then just turns itself off straight away. So yes, again, it could be a faulty power supply, but if I put this power supply into the one that we have been working on and it does the same, then I have got a working PlayStation 3 that I got from Marcel in the Netherlands, and I can take the power supply out of that one. But to begin with, let's just take it out of this first of all to see if it acts any differently than this one. Okay, another missing hard drive. Just to check these are the actual same input and output. Yeah, they're both outputting 12 volts, 13 amps and 5.5 volts at 0.9 amps. The model numbers are different though, but I'm hoping they look to be the same. Right, so I'm going to plug it in. Remember, I haven't got it. Oops, hold on. That doesn't sound good. I think it's okay. I haven't got it plugged in just yet. So here we go. Keep my hands well clear. Plug it in. Right, so there's still no button on here. So that says to me that quite possibly it's not the power supply. There's still no light up on here. Unless it is to do with that rail. Let me get a disc and put it in. Hopefully that will turn it on. No, completely dead. Normally that's I don't know about the PlayStation 3 Slim, but often that turns on the consoles. Well, okay, further fault finding is needed. Go. We've got it out. So now what I'm going to do is I'm just going to have a look around the place, see if I can see anything that's obvious with it. So it's completely dead. It's not getting powered up whatsoever. So I'm just going to have a look around, see if I can see anything. Right, so nothing's jumping out at me. I can't see any burnt components or anything like that. I can't see anything wrong with the motherboard from what I can see. I've gone across random pins here, not the end of the ribbon cable, but here. Pressing this, and I can hear with continuity. Every time I press this, it goes. So if you have a listen here now. I don't know what pins they are, I was just doing random ones. There you go. So you can hear that one, and also the eject button is also working if I go along further. So that looks to be okay. Obviously it could be a problem with the ribbon cable, but I think it's unlikely. Now I've put in both power supplies, and this is what I think should happen. 240 volts goes in here, obviously this is all unplugged at the moment, and it goes into this side. So 240 volts goes into this side of the power supply. And then I think that these two prongs would be the 12 volt, and these are going to be the 5 volt. So if it's anything like the PlayStation 4 Slim, what would happen is there would always be 5 volts on this. This travels through to here. When you press the button, it tells this to turn the power supply on to put 12 volts through here. Now, when I put the power supply in, I'm not getting 5 volts here on either of my power supplies. So basically, if you listen to continuity, can you see this second one here is the ground, and this one at the end here, I presume would be the positive, the 5 volts, because if you kind of have a look, can you see that this is the section here on the board? So if I go between here and here, yep. Now I don't know what the other two pins do. One of them is going to be a sensing pin, I presume, from the button up here. I don't know whether we can get any reading between here and here, maybe. No, I was just going between this little connection up here. So that it might be on the other side of the board there. But anyway, I'm pretty sure that we should have voltage here, because otherwise how does the PlayStation know that it's being turned on? So I think that every time it's plugged into the power, we should have a red light, and we should have 5 volts on here. So I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to take apart my working PlayStation 3 Slim. I'm hoping it will have the same power supply, and then it will help me fault find further, because right now I really I don't know what to do, because as far as I can see, I can't even see power coming out of the power supply. Right, so this is the good working one here. I've got it all together. I've just taken the cover off, and if you look, I've got my, well, you can't see, but I've got the red light on here, just here now. And if I go between the two that I showed you earlier, so positive on the very edge of the connector and negative next to it, can you see I've got 5.5 volts. So 100% we should have 5.5 volts there. What I'm going to do now is I'm going to take out the power supply and see if we've still got 5.5 volts without being connected to the board. Right, so this is a known working power supply. I'm keeping my hands well clear. I'm just about to plug it in. So now this is live here. I'm going to get my meter, put it to volts DC, and let's see what we have on these ones here. There you go, 5.5. So we should definitely have voltage there. So that's good. Now, my only concern is, I've unplugged this from the power supply again. Actually, I can leave that in there. My concern is that this one here is slightly different. This is 12 volts outputting 16 amps, and this is 5.5, 0.9 amps. This is 0.9 amps at 5.5, but it's 13 amps at 12 volts. But what I'm thinking is, yes, this can supply 16 amps, but the motherboard shouldn't be asking for 16 amps, should it? It shouldn't be asking for any more than 13 amps, because that's what this one is designed for. So I presume the motherboard will only ask for that much. So I am going to risk plugging this one into here and then seeing if we have anything happen at all. Right, so here goes. Let's plug it in. Now I know it's going to overheat straight away because I haven't got any of the heat sinks or anything on. I just want to see if the red light comes on. No. Okay, so there's no red light there. Let's see what's happening here. No, so we're not getting any reading here. Right, so that says to me that the other power supplies are probably okay. Let's unplug again, and now I'm just going to plug in the power supply that I have been working on without anything connected to see if we have 5 volts coming out of it. 5 volts. Okay, so that's good. We know that that power supply is okay. Now, just to help me on the next one, I am going to check the other power supply now as well. Right, this is just purely out of curiosity. And you can see 5.5 volts there. So that one as well looks to be okay. I don't know whether they're going to be outputting 12 volts or not, but I'm thinking 5.5 volts should be enough to give the red light without the 12 volts. Alright, so I think what I'm going to work on now, rightly or wrongly, I don't know, but I'm going to trace it from the 5 volt and see where it goes to. I know it goes through some wires here, and then from the wires it goes up to this chip here. So I'm just going to try to trace my way around, because for me, I think it's not getting between here and this connection here. So there might not be anything wrong with the 12 volt side of things. It might be all the 5 volt side of things, which is because this doesn't know. I'm trying to think now. See, the red light's not even on, so it's got nothing to do with the fact of turning this on. It's like the 5 volt's not even getting down to here, but still, it's going to be, I presume, the 5 volt for the little light here. So let me work my way through it and see if I can find anything. Right, as you can imagine, I'm not getting very far. Now, my thinking is that this has got 2 power rails, 5.5 volts and 12 volts, because that's what the power supply says. And I'm thinking that the 5 volts is for the front rail where you turn it on and things like the USB and stuff, and then the 12 volts is to make the system work. Now, remember that we're not getting a light on this one here at all. On this one, we get a light, but it cuts out. That could be just something to do with like the main CPU or GPU. I'm not too bothered about that just yet. I'm wanting to fault find this one over here, which is the one with the completely dead, not no light whatsoever. Now, if you have a look on this one here, which cuts off after a couple of seconds, I've the 5 volt little rail thing is on the other side of here. It comes through some wires and it works its way up, and this is like the first chip it gets to. And if I go between a ground and that first pin there, you can see it is reading 5.5 volts. Don't know if you can see that or not. You just hopefully you can. But now on this one over here, it's not reading 5.5 volts. So I've got this plugged in at the moment, but I'm being very careful. If you have a look there, see we've got 0.0029 volts, so there's absolutely nothing. So I think what I'm going to do is, because I can't see anything obvious, and remember, these were already sold by possibly a professional, you know, it was a whole job lot of broken consoles, so I don't think it's going to be anything straightforward, like I've looked up online and they say that on this one, when it turns on for a second and goes off, it's because the power supply is faulty. Well, it's not. I've tried both of these power supplies in my working one and they're both working fine. So it's definitely something to do with the motherboard. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take that chip off and then I'm going to see if 5 volts gets into that. If it does, I know then it's either the chip or something further into the board. I might even swap it with this chip here and then see what happens. I can't think of anything else to do apart from that. So that's what I'm going to work on. Sorry for the really weird angle, but it's not together properly, but if you look now, I definitely have got 5.5 volts at that first incoming pin there. Yeah, so you can see it's definitely not a problem with the power supply, it's just that for some reason when it's going through, it's knocking it out, isn't it? But yeah, I can't see any shorts or anything. Let's just unplug that. Right, now let's see which is the ground pin. I think it's the up here, there you go. Yeah, and now if I was to go between there and there, see, look, there's not a short there. So I'm not exactly sure what's knocking it out. So I'm going to swap the chip over and see if that does anything. So I've swapped those chips over. I just added a tiny bit of solder to the legs just to make sure they were properly on. Now let's see if we have the, let's see what happens now. See if the 5.5 volts still disappears. Yeah, it's still gone. So now let's see what's happening on this one here. No, and it's there. So basically 100% it's not that chip. There's nothing wrong with that chip. So now I'm going to have to look at other things and see if I can work out what's going on with them. I'm already at a bit of a loss, if I'm honest with you. I don't really know how to prove this anymore, but I'll unplug it so it's safe to work on, and then I'll just keep working my way through. Hopefully I might be able to find a difference between the board, but that was the first difference I found on that chip there. Well, it wasn't a difference, it was just the fact that it went there to begin with. So let's keep on working through this. Right, okay, I want to show you something. I have found something that looks a bit dodgy, well, very dodgy. So basically this is the connector here where the 5 volts goes into. You can see that the positive is down here because I showed you earlier, and you can see it goes to 4 little wires there. They come through on this side of the board here, and they work their way up through here to the first part of the chip there. Then from here I've been testing around here. Now look, you see this little capacitor here? That's testing ground, basically. It's shorting. So if I go one lead to ground, look, at the bottom it's shorting, and also at the top it's shorting, and if I go between them like this, it's shorting. Now if I get this board here, you'll see it won't do that. There you go. Oh, hold on. There. And now if I go here, at the bottom, it shorts, but not at the top. From the top, basically, it then goes along here, and it goes through these wires here, which look like they go under this thing here, which says WLAN. So I presume this is to do with the Wi-Fi. I'm hoping it's going to be the capacitor and not the Wi-Fi module itself. It might not even be the capacitor, it might be the thing next to it that's causing the short, I'm not too sure. But what I'm going to do is I'm just going to pop that capacitor off and then see if the pads are short. And if the pads are short, I can take off the thing next to it, and then we've got a little resistor there. But I can take some measurements then between the boards. So let's pop that off and let's see if that makes any difference. I mean, it would be amazing if it was just a capacitor, but I think that's probably going to be unlikely. Right, so I'm going to test it while it's still warm. Because I'm thinking it might actually be this tiny little chip, because some of those are going to go and feed, some of these contacts here are going to feed the rail up there, aren't they? Right, so you can see now it's definitely shorting. So it's not that capacitor. I'm now going to take off that thing next to it while everything's still red hot. And then if it's still not doing it, then I'm going to take off that chip. Okay, you can see it's still shorting, yeah? So now I'm going to take off this tiny little chip here. I just need to make a note of where it's going. Wouldn't it be great if it was that tiny little chip? Let's pop it off and then see what happens. See if that's what's causing the short. Right, so the short is still there, so it's not that little chip. I'm going to have a very close look, see if it can be anything else. Right, I'm really confused what's going on here. I think it's going through to the other side, the fault. Because if you look, for example, if I take my ground from here, it's not the components over this side, because watch, okay, this is ground here. But look, can you see now, this pin here is not being grounded. So if these were faulty here, they would be bringing the ground over to this side. This is grounded, and I'm pretty sure it isn't. This one here is not grounded. That is, but that may be normal. That's not, and that's not. So I don't know why this is connected to, I think it all goes through and connected up. I think there's a problem on the other side, unless of course it is this tiny resistor. It is possible, so let's pop that one off. That's going to be quite hard because it's very small. I'm just going to leave it to the side because I think I'm probably going to be popping that straight back on. Yeah, still shorting underneath there. Unless, of course, the other board is faulty, and that's the fault on the other board. That I do not know. I'm going to pop this resistor straight back on, otherwise I'm going to struggle with it. I don't really know what to do about this one, because I've had a look online, and the no power things are pretty much always to do with faulty power supply, but 100% it's not the power supply here. We've swapped them, so we know it's not that. I mean, the wires are going over to this chip here, but I'm wondering, would the Wi-Fi chip be getting energized before even the console is turned on? Would that be on the 5-volt side of things? I don't know. See, the problem is, I mean, look at this. It's the way it's set up. This is a BGA. So if I take this off, I think it will be unlikely that I'll be able to get it back on again. But at the same time, I don't know how to fault find it further, because it's going to here, and as far as I can see, there's a short here, and I don't know where it goes to after that. It kind of disappears around the place. So what, let's take this lid off, because these ones are the ones that you can get the lid off, aren't they? Zoom right in there, see if we can see anything. Right, so that's it there. So looking online, it looks like this does the Wi-Fi and the Bluetooth. Right, well, there's definitely white stuff there. I don't know whether that's normal or not. Definitely is white stuff there. Should I try and take this off and then see if we get the red power light? See if that ground goes away? It's BGA, so I've got a feeling I'll probably end up heating everything up to death by the time that comes off. But at the same time, look, we still have that short on the other side. So if you look, yeah, 2.5 ohms. Don't know what else to do. I don't think it is this, but at the same time I think I'm going to have to take it off. But by taking it off, I've kind of convinced myself that it will be game over for this console. Unless of course the BGA balls are very big and there's a chance that I could reflow them. I mean, it doesn't look like there's going to be a huge amount of connections under here, looking at the wires and stuff on the other side, but I really don't know. Well, I think for this I'm going to zoom out a bit because it's a bit big to be in that close. I'll just put flux around here and see what happens. Don't even know how easy this is going to come off. Okay, let's give it a go. I mean, I didn't pay much for it. The whole job lot of consoles was very little, so it's not the money side of things. It's just that I've got a feeling that this could be fixable. It's just that I don't know what to do to fix it, and if I can't copy a guide or look online and find anything, then I'm going to be a little bit lost. So I'll do it. If even if it doesn't work, if I can eventually find out what the problem is by tracing it after this, then for me it will still be a win. Right, so that's just all the cover that's come off. You can see it was just soldered around the edge. Right, it's starting to come. Excellent. Wasn't sure whether I was actually going to get that off or not. Look at all the smoke coming off that. Right, so the solder balls are quite big on it. Right, okay, looking closely at that, you can see that with all the heat that chip itself there has moved. I don't know whether anything else would have got damaged in the process or not. So that's not good. But let's see now if those shorts have gone. Alright, here we go. Yes, they have. Excellent. So I now wonder if I was to put those chips back on and stuff, I wonder would we have the red light? I know it won't work, I don't think. It might not even, you know, it won't probably update and stuff without that Wi-Fi card in it. But still, if we could prove that that was the fault, I think I would actually be happy with that. So I'm going to pop these components back on and then we'll plug it back in and see what happens, if we have that red light or not. Right, I think they all went back on alright, so what we're going to do now is put it back together, obviously minus the Wi-Fi card, and let's see if we have the little red light now. Right, so here we go. Let's just make sure I'm plugging in the right lead. This one, hold on. Right, this one here, okay. Look at that. Look at that, we got the red light. Look, amazing. Sorry, I can't scream and shout. Can't do my trademark, yes, because it's everybody's in bed now. It's Sunday night, so the kids have school tomorrow. Look at that, wow, right. Should I try and press the button? Obviously it's going to overheat straight away because I've got nothing on the, I've got no fan or anything. Let's see if it's going to turn on. Yes. Look at it. Wow, okay. So I presume it's going to overheat any second now. Let's see if we can turn that off. Is it going to let me turn it off? Okay, let's unplug that. Well, fantastic. So, I'm so happy about that. So it looks like it's the Wi-Fi card. Well, it's not looks like, it is. It is the Wi-Fi card. And it must be where there was all the white chalky stuff. If anything, I would say that it was this chip here that's failed, but maybe we can test that. Let me get this more back together, and then maybe I can put in that number. I need to zoom in to see what it is. Put in that number online, and then I might be able to get the data sheet and find out where the power pin is, where the ground pin is, and maybe I will see that there's a short to ground on it. Do you know what? Instead of changing the whole chip, the whole Wi-Fi card, I wonder would it be possible just to change that bit over? You know, get one of them. Oh, I'm so happy with that, I really am. Okay, let's put it back together just to see if it will display on the TV, see if the fan will spin, anything like that. Hey, do you know what I noticed? Look what we got here. A little bit of corrosion, not the dust, but the corrosion there. And this sits here, and look where that corresponds to. Can you see? These were the chips we were working on. Yeah, going up to here, do you remember up here? So the Wi-Fi card is just on the other side of that corrosion. So let's have a little look on the other side. So basically the corrosion is, let me unplug the fan. The corrosion was, the water was just here. And you can see that is very close. That is very close to here. I mean, I can't see any damage this side, but maybe the water kind of went on top and got straight into the Wi-Fi card rather than the board. It is a bit of a coincidence, isn't it, that the corrosion on this is so close to the Wi-Fi chip. Looks like this has been dropped or something, doesn't it? Let's take a very quick look on the inside. Just going to bend that back out a bit. Well, hopefully it'll be okay. Right, let's bring this over to the TV and see what it does. I've got a HDMI cable connected to the TV. I haven't plugged it in yet. Let's plug it in and see what happens. Right, so we've got a red light. Let's see if the fan and stuff kicks in. Fan kicks in, that's good. Yeah, it's still going. Right, nothing's happening on TV yet. I mean, will it display to the TV without the hard drive? Oh, something's happening, I think. I wonder, do I need to connect it up via AV? Let me get an AV connector, because maybe it will only display without the hard drive. Oh no, here we go, look. There it is. Excellent. Cannot start. The appropriate system storage was not found. Well, that's fine. So I need to look into now. Well, actually, there's no point in worrying about the hard drive yet, because obviously the Wi-Fi chip's not in it, and that's going to cause serious problems. Let's just connect up this. I've got a feeling when you update it and stuff without the Wi-Fi chip, it's going to go wrong. Let's just see if a controller will sync up via a wired connection. No, I suppose it won't because there's no hardware. Oh, yes it will. There it is. Right, let's just see if it will stay connected. No, obviously, because there's no Wi-Fi or Bluetooth. See, if it wasn't for the issue of... There we go. If it wasn't for the issue of the updating failing, then it wouldn't be such a big deal, because you could just use it in a wired connection and also have a Ethernet cable plugged into it. So I'm going to have a look at this Wi-Fi chip now, just to see what's going on with it. Sort of just thinking out aloud, by the time I buy a hard drive and a Wi-Fi chip, it's probably not actually worth spending any money on this. For me, I'm happy that I've proved the fault onto the Wi-Fi chip. Let's take it a little bit further and see what it is on that Wi-Fi chip board thing that is actually faulty. But to get this back into service, is it worth... I mean, a hard drive is probably going to cost me... What's that going to cost me? I haven't looked in ages, but probably 40 or 50 pounds. Wi-Fi chip, I don't know, 10 pounds. And I'm pretty sure in CEX I could probably get a PlayStation 3 Slim for 60 pounds, and that would also come with the power supply and a controller. I mean, I don't know this is what I need to do my research into, so it's probably not actually worth fixing this, which is a shame. But let's see that little Wi-Fi chip just to see what's going on. I think I might actually know what was wrong with this. Now, do you remember that this was the chip that was kind of chalky? Well, I've looked up the spec of this chip, and basically it's a serial flash memory, and I've got the sort of data, the spec for it. And if you have a look, it's a Winbond 25X40BVN. This one up here, opposite the little dot, is the power supply, the VCC, and this one is the ground, the VSS. Now, if we look at the board closely, you can see that the dot is in this corner up here, just where my fingernail is, just there. So that's the same as it being this way round. So look, the ground is going to be the bottom right, and the VCC, the power supply, is going to be the that's going to be the top right, and this is going to be the bottom one. And I think what's happened is this is very near the shielding. I think water's got in and shorted between the shielding, which is ground, and the VCC, causing the fault. So if you have a look, if I put my meter to continuity, let's zoom right away in. This one here is the ground, and if you have a listen, if I short between here and here, you can hear it. And now this is the power supply in, and I think water's gathered here, and that's what caused this chip to kind of have all that white chalky stuff. Now if we put it the right way round, you can see the little dot here. So basically, if you look now, we haven't got any short between there and there. I think it was just purely corrosion. Now I am going to pop this chip back on. Chance of it working again are very slim, because I've lost, when I was heating this up, this slid over. Didn't mean to, and I lost capacitors and resistors here. I have got 3 of them, but they're so small, I'm not going to be able to fit them. I mean, look at it compared to my finger. These things are absolutely tiny. So I'm not sure how important that rail going down here is. Maybe it's very important, maybe it's not. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to pop that chip back on with just a soldering iron, I think. And then I'm going to wipe up all these solder here, and I'm just going to put fresh leaded solder on. I'm going to try and get it back on the board. I haven't really got anything to lose. Now the good news is, you can get the hard drives on eBay for under £10, so it's definitely worth doing. The bad news is, I can't find anybody selling this particular Wi-Fi chip on eBay when I type in PS3 Wi-Fi. I haven't actually typed in that number to see where I can just buy it. I don't know whether this is purely made for the PlayStation 3 or whether it's just an off-the-shelf part or not. So that's it there. But anyway, let's try to get this chip back on. Right, okay, so as you can see, I've got all those solder balls off, so it's nice and flat now. So now I'm just going to try to add more solder to it. It's not a proper way of doing it at all, but I'm just wondering if it will work. Right, okay, so I just had a big blob of solder there and I just kept rubbing it around the place and it looks okay, but the thing is, all these ones would have to be, I'm pretty much sure, exact, but you never know, it might work. Right, okay, so there you go, you can see them all. Let's zoom right in and see what they look like. Right, I mean they do look pretty uniform, don't they? This might be all completely pointless because of all these missing resistors and capacitors here. But let's pop it back on the board and see what it does. Right, so I'm just going to clean up this here and add more solder to it. Right, my soldering iron's struggling a bit, so I'm going to add some leaded solder to all this lot and then take it all off. I think that's mostly off, it feels pretty smooth, so now I'm going to add some solder to it as well, because I think you should just leave them on one side, but these are so small, I don't think they're like proper balls, so between doing it here and here I'm hoping that then they might marry up and solder okay. Okay, so that's it there. They're not perfect. There's a few kind of little spikes here rather than balls. But I'm hoping that if I get it lined up, that they might stick together. So I'm going to cover everything in flux. I'm going to leave the lid off it for the time being. Right, so it looks like I just have to line it up with those little squares here. Squares on each corner, so I think that's how I line it up. Well, let's heat it up and see what happens. Do you know what? I think that's melted already. So now I'm going to try and put the shield back on. Surprisingly easy, probably because it was leaded solder. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to let it cool and I'm going to clean it up with some IPA, and then we'll flip it over and we'll still see, we'll test it again for a short, just to see if that short's gone. Now, just because it's gone, it doesn't mean it's going to work, because remember, all those capacitors and stuff are missing. I don't even know if that chip's still working, it might have blown itself, but still, we'll give it a go. Okay, unfortunately, after all that hard work, it's still shorting. Look. Oh, I can't believe it. I thought that was going to fix it. So if you have a listen. Yeah, so that's all shorting. So it's not going to work now. Right, so I'll have to take that off. There's not much I can do. Maybe I can buy one of them. Yeah, that's really is a shame. I was sure it was going to be that chip because of the corrosion, but maybe it's the main chip in there, not too sure. And you know, the other board I've got, which is cutting off straight away, I don't even think I can swap that over because it looks like they're a different chip. I mean, maybe it would work, but it just looks like they're, you know, it's not exactly the same, is it? And also then if I take that one off here, it means I'll never have a chance of fixing this board. A slightly different design. Well, let me take this one off here again. Yeah, now the short has gone again. So I'm just going to have a look up this Wi-Fi chip online, see if I can get it, because it's not on eBay, but I'm just going to have a little look just to see if it's on Google anyway. Here it is, and I can't find any on eBay unless I'm typing in the wrong thing. This is on AliExpress and it's still $19.20 just for one. So yeah, I don't really think it's worth spending that, because also I need a hard drive as well. Secondly, I don't know the condition of the rest of it. So for example, even if I install that, how do I know if, for example, the disk drive's working? Or even if I install this, how do I know whether I'm actually going to be able to install it properly or not? I could muck it up. You know, soldering these balls here is not easy. Sorry, putting them onto the board is not easy unless you've got the proper equipment. I'm just heating it up from the top, and by heating it up from the top I might end up damaging one of the chips in here. So the risk reward in this instance is not worth it. For me, I enjoy just the fact of being able to sort of find the fault, to put the fault onto that. Part of me wonders whether it could be something after this that's put in, you know, by that it travels through this, then goes on to something else, which is putting a short on. But it doesn't, looking at the board, it doesn't really, it looks like everything stops there. So I suppose it does make sense that that could have gone faulty. So what I'm going to do now is I'm just going to mess around for a little bit. I'm not going to go out and buy a hard drive. I'm just going to take one out for PS3 FAT that's not working. It's only a 40GB one. But let's see whether I can update it and stuff without this. Let's see if we can get to the PlayStation 3 home screen just by putting a hard drive in and putting the software from a thumb drive, a little USB thumb drive, onto the PlayStation. Right, so I've put in a hard drive in there just from a PlayStation 3 FAT that wasn't working. It's just a 40GB one, but just to see if it's going to work or not. So I've gone the official route, downloading the PlayStation 3 software from Sony onto this little USB stick down here. And unfortunately it keeps failing with this. It goes through a long way and you think it's going to work, but then it comes up with this error code here. This error code apparently is related to the Wi-Fi and Bluetooth module not working properly. Obviously it's not working because it doesn't exist. So I've tried it numerous times and it keeps failing. So what I'm going to do now is I've put on Homebrew onto there, you know, if people want to hack their PlayStation 3s. Now, I'm not interested in that, I just want to get access into the PlayStation 3. So I've put it onto the little USB stick now, and now I'm going to see if it will sort of bypass that check on the Bluetooth module. So it says up here, the system partition of the system storage will be formatted. During the format operation, all data of the system storage may be deleted. To format, press and hold the start and select buttons at the same time for at least 5 seconds. If you format, you cannot go back to the previous version of the system storage, which is fine by me. So let's hit them both, and let's see what happens. There we go, check in. Right, I'm just going to let it run through and see this time if it will update successfully or not, or will it still come up with that error code because it can't see, when it's doing its checks, it can't see the Wi-Fi and Bluetooth module. That went through, only took a few minutes, and you see here it says PlayStation 3 System Software version 4.85.1 HFS, hybrid and exploitable. Press the PlayStation button. Right, now, it has actually done this before, but obviously using the official software. I really don't know if this is going to bypass the check or not. So it's saying checking for update data. Right, so I'm just going to have to go through this, so I accept it. And yeah, do not turn off the system during the update. If you do, you will not be able to restart your PlayStation 3, blah blah blah. Right, let's do it. Did all this before though, and this is where it failed. Right, unfortunately it's failed again with exactly the same error code. Can you see there? 800 2F1F9. 800 2F1F9. So yeah, even sort of going via the Homebrew thing, it looks like the PlayStation is still looking to see that the components are there on the inside. So I've tried it the official way and the unofficial way, and both of them are not working, which is a real shame because I would be happy to use it. I mean, it is working. I would be happy to use it in a wired way. Or what I would actually do is I would put a Magic NS adapter. Let me show you one of them. One of these, I would just plug one of these into the USB port, plug a cable in so it syncs up, then this will work wirelessly to here, and yet the PlayStation will think it's a wired connection, so you could still use it wirelessly, and then I could just have a network cable in the back to have a wired, you know, a wired network rather than Wi-Fi. So the Wi-Fi and Bluetooth module isn't actually needed. It's just like a security thing that the PlayStation does. It checks various different components to see if they're there, and then if they're not there, it throws up an error. So unfortunately, because of like software, this thing is useless. It's, I suppose, would you call it bricked? I don't know. Now, I suppose it's not bricked, is it? It's the fact that I need a new wireless Bluetooth module. Now, I'm not going to spend £20 on one. If I get one in the future and it has that same Wi-Fi card, and for example, the next one I get might have a problem with the GPU or CPU, then I will try to heat it up to take it off. It's just that the way I do with the hot air on the top, I don't want to spend £20 on the module to just burn it out again. Really, the board itself needs to be heated and then that placed on it, so the heat isn't directly on the module. I haven't got that sort of equipment to do. Apologies for my voice, I'm coming down with a cold. It's that time of year where everything's just doing the rounds. So yeah, I mean, I'm happy that I got it to this stage. It's just unfortunate that I couldn't get it to actually display the PlayStation 3 homepage and be able to play a game. I know that this is working okay, but you know what? It's going to make a good spares machine because essentially it is working. So now if I get more other ones in the future, I can use this board for measurements and I can take components off this board knowing that it is actually working. But for this video I can't show you a working one, but at the same time, considering it didn't turn on at all, I'm happy that I got it working. Also, I didn't spend any money on it, which is the main thing, because I'd be annoyed now if I bought a new hard drive and stuff like this. So it's always worth kind of experimenting with what you've got to begin with, because there's no point in going out and buying one because it's not working on this one here, and I presume it should work okay with a 40GB one. So that's it. What will happen is now it will just keep doing this. It will do this and then fail and then do this again, and then I think eventually it will just stop. So yeah, that is it for this video. If you enjoyed it, please give it a thumbs up and please subscribe for more Trying to Fix videos. Take care. Bye now.